I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. During a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on Tuesday, Senator Dick Durbin questioned witnesses about law enforcement safety. Durbin asked whether arming more Americans with firearms actually makes communities safer. Baltimore Police Department Commissioner Michael Harrison said this argument is not true and that more people carrying guns is not the solution to combating crime. Let's watch the full line of questioning.
Pause at this point and think to myself, how many doors have we opened to talk about with your testimony? There's so many elements here. Some of us want to address what's on the mind of the shooter, and that's certainly relevant, important, worthy of our time. Some of us want to address what's in the hand of the shooter. What weapon do they bring to terrify or to assault a police officer? They're both relevant. And there's no question that there are elements of it that are politically controversial, and we disagree on this panel. I've met Chief Navales with members of the Chicago Police Department off the record. I met at the training academy and said, come on in. We're going to spend whatever time you want to spend here, and you can say whatever you want to this politician. What's going on in the ranks? 20 of them showed up out of nowhere. Some had been on the force 2 years, some had been over 20. Black, white, and brown, women, men, they all came because they wanted to tell me something. They wanted me to be educated by the people who are risking their lives every single day. It was a valuable exchange. And then I've met with Noble, the Black Officers Organization, several different times. I've never run into a policeman who has made an excuse for what happened to George Floyd, nor Laquan McDonald. They just don't. And I think we ought to start with that premise, that good policemen know when things go wrong too, and they're honest about it. The same thing is true when it comes to the weaponry that's involved in this here. It's hard for me to understand, many of you have already mentioned this, Commissioner Harrison, you have as well, that there are so many firearms out there now. Chicago is awash in firearms. Many came from Illinois, but others came from states surrounding Illinois with much different standards in terms of sales. And we know from Highland Park and other places that AR-15s are becoming a common weapon used against police and innocent civilians. We think there are 10 to 20 million of these assault rifles that have been sold in this country. We are truly awash in weaponry. So I guess I'm going to start with Commissioner Harrison. Commissioner, you've seen this firsthand. Some people argue if we just give more Americans guns that they can carry, we will be safer. I question that. Whether you're a policeman or a member of our military, you need to be trained in the use of a weapon to be effective with that weapon. Even if we wanted to have more people carrying weapons to protect the police, what are your thoughts in terms of this proliferation of firearms?
Thank you for that question. I have not seen.
Do you have your microphone turned on?
Thank you for that question. I have not seen, working in two major American cities, nor have I heard from my colleagues in small, medium, and large-sized departments that more people carrying guns make them safe. What I can tell you is that with tough gun laws in the state of Maryland, where one has to have a permit to carry a gun outside of the home, in every year that we've exceeded more than 300 murders, more 335 last year, we're on pace for that again this year. None of those murders in my city and any other cities are committed by a person who has the lawful right to carry a gun. It's the unlawful carrying of guns with the illegal guns that are used in those crimes. And if there are justifiable cases, they're rare, and that number is very small. And so we're not seeing, we use data to answer those questions. The data does not support that more legal, law-abiding citizens carrying guns makes us safer, because we're not seeing that those individuals who can lawfully carry a gun are using those guns in self-defense or being used in any other crimes. It's repeat violent offenders. It is the large number of guns on the street that are being bought on the street. Some are being bought, many are being bought with straw purchases, and they're being used by violent offenders. They're being stolen from law-abiding citizens because of a number of issues and poor gun handling and management, and then used by criminals to commit crimes, to commit robberies and shootings. So we're not seeing that more guns by law-abiding citizens actually makes us safer.
Just have a short time left. Chief Henninger, you personally live this. And what is your thought in terms of the proliferation of guns and whether it's made it a safer nation or not?
Well, my first thought is that there are many gun laws, and many of them are seen as a low priority for prosecution. So when an officer takes someone into custody for a gun violation, a felon with a gun, they're just not seeing much consequences for that behavior. And I think that's an area that we really need to refocus on, that there should be significant consequences for that first use of a firearm to commit any type of crime.
Chief Navales, Officer French lost her life to a straw purchase gun. We know that now. We're trying to make a better law, and I want to thank Senator Cornyn for his leadership on that with the bill that we supported. Can you comment on the types of guns that are being used to not only harm the police, but obviously used in crime in the city of Chicago?
Well, what I can say is that what we're seeing is an increase in firepower. The caliber of weapon that offenders are using out in the street is much greater. We are recovering more and more drum magazines. So we're not faced with, a 10-round magazine. We're faced with drum magazines that when you're standing in the center of an intersection in Chicago, let's say Pulaski and Jackson, and you are standing in a sea of 30, 40, even more shell casings, you know that the increase in the firepower and the capacity is growing. We're seeing more assault-style weapons being used, and it's incredibly scary for our officers to know that they have to go out there and be outmanned and outgunned.
Thank you, Chief. Senator Grass.